विडंबना देखिए दोस्तों, फिल्म का नाम है थग लाइफ और उसी पर गुंडागर्दी करके उसे ही थिएटर में रिलीज होने नहीं दिया। फिल्म में अभिनेता ने कुछ बोला, भावनाएं आहत हुई, भीड़ ने धमकियां दी और फिल्म थिएटरों से गायब हो गई। हेलो फ्रेंड्स, वेलकम टू लॉर्डशिप्स। टुडे वी आर गोइंग टू डिस्कस द लीगल इश्यूज सराउंडिंग द रिलीज ऑफ द फिल्म थग लाइफ. The case of M. Mahesh Reddy versus State of Karnataka and Raj Kamal Films versus State of Karnataka was put up before hearing before the Supreme Court bench comprising of Justice Ujjal Bhuyan and Justice Manmohan. In this PIL, they were basically seeking directions to allow the release of the film in Karnataka, which was not released owing to certain threats that were issued by various groups which were basically hurt by certain statement made by the actor Kamal Hassan in the film that Kannada was born out of Tamil. So on June 17th, while hearing the matter, the court had told the state that it cannot allow the mobs and the vigilante groups to take over the exhibition of a film which has been duly certified by the CBFC. The state accordingly filed its affidavit stating that it will give protection for the screening of the film in the state of Karnataka. So if we go on to look at the backgrounds of the case, on 5th of June 2025, this movie Thug Life was released worldwide except in the state of Karnataka. In state of Karnataka, there were basically the protests that had emerged owing into the backdrop of the alleged remarks that were made by Kamal Hassan that Kannada was born out of Tamil. The matter reached the Karnataka High Court and the producer approached the High Court of Karnataka seeking the police protection in order to get the film released. However, the High Court refused to grant relief to the petitioner and discussed whether Kamal Hassan is thinking to render an apology for his alleged remarks concerning the Kannada language. Kamal Hassan accordingly refused to apologize and instead he approached the Supreme Court, wherein they demanded the protection for release of the film in the state of Karnataka and also taking action against those groups who were involved in issuing these illegal threats and demands. The petitioner's contention, the advocate of petitioner, Mr. A. Velan, contended that currently no action has been taken by the police against these threats, no FIR has been filed. There is clear Supreme Court guidelines which lay down various directions on mob vigilantism and speech that is basically a hate speech, and that the state was obligated to follow these directions in order to protect the right of freedom of expression. Affidavit that was filed by the state was deficient as the affidavit did not clearly lay down what action it will take and how it will prevent the release of the film, what action it has taken against those groups who had threatened against the release of the film. The arguments from the Karnataka Sahitya Parishad is also pertinent, wherein advocate Sanjay Nuli appeared for the Kannada Sahitya Parishad and submitted that language is an emotive issue and sentiments were running high. अब इस केस में देखिए यहाँ पे बहुत ही there is a kind of debate and discussion that is happening between the judge and the advocate, where the judge is clearly taking a stand in favor of the petitioner. And the court goes on to say that, do you support the unofficial ban on the movie and burning down of the theatres? What is your stand? Justice Bhuyan had asked the advocate and accordingly stated that the movie can be screened subject to an apology by the actor. Otherwise, it will aggravate the situation. Infuriated by this response, the judge asked, where is the question of apology? You cannot take the law into your own hands. If you are hurt by the sentiments, then file a defamation case. Where is the question of apology in such matters? Nuli then said he was not supporting anyone taking law into their own hands, not for any moment will support any violence. And then the judge asked, and will you not obstruct the release of the movie? The judge asked, and to this he agreed that will not oppose the release of the movie. On the other hand, the producer of the film, the advocate of the producer of the film, accordingly contended that the production house has suffered a huge loss amounting around 30 crore due to the ban, due to this extra legal or illegal ban that was there in the state of Karnataka, and the threats that were issued against the film not only came from some fringe groups, but rather there were some high-ranking officials and politicians who were involved in preventing the release of the film in the state of Karnataka and accordingly issuing threats. This resultantly has caused a loss of rupees 30 crore to the production house. In the last hearing that was there before the Supreme Court, Justice Bhuyan had orally remarked that we cannot allow mobs and vigilante groups to take over the streets. The rule of law must prevail. We cannot allow this to happen. If somebody has made a statement, counter it with a statement. Somebody has made some writing, counter it with some writing. This is proxy. Justice Bhuyan orally told the counsel representing. And then in the last hearing, the state's inaction was highlighted, and finally the observation that came of the Supreme Court is pertinent, wherein it was accordingly observed that rule of law demands that any film which has a CBFC certification must be released, and the state has a duty to ensure its screening. It can't be that the fear of burning down of cinemas that the film can't be shown. People may not watch the film, that is a different matter. But we are not passing any order that people must watch the film, but the film must be released. That is the main point. Rule of law is the priority. And if we go on to see the final order of the Supreme Court closed the PIL challenging this unofficial ban of screening of the film Thug Life in view of the statement made by the state government that it has not imposed any ban upon the film, and it will go on to provide full protection and security for the screening of the film if the producer desires to release it in the state. So no guidelines were given as to the cost, but directive to the state was given that it should take prompt action against any individual or group or fringe group who prevents the release of the film, who threatens or causes any violence. So lastly, we'll close our discussion with one observation of the Supreme Court, which has gathered momentum and gained news, that we cannot allow this to happen just because of an opinion. Should a movie be stopped? A stand-up comedy should be stopped? A poetry, a recital of poems should be stopped? It's the question. And then these final remarks underscored the court's commitment to protecting the artistic expression and free speech from being silenced by threats and mob violence. That's all for today, guys. Do like, share and subscribe our channel, and stay tuned for more legal updates, national and international news. Thanks a lot.